Hi guys, welcome. My name is Jian0014 or Casuals13, whatever you want to call me. Thanks for tuning into my channel today. Today I'm going to talk about the new Test Realm spell changes. This is by Take Two recording this video because Take One got disturbed. So I'm going to do this video again. And if you guys like the video, comment, subscribe, like the video, blah blah, stuff like that. And if you have any arguments with me, you leave a comment in the description. I want to hear all sides of the story about this. So I'm just going to tell about what they changed, stuff like that, and I'm a Myth Wizard, so as you can see I'm on Test Realm. Look at that face. Look at that face. Anyways, okay, let me go to the spells, and let me explain what got changed here. Alright, so today we're going to talk about the spells, so we're going to go to Fire first. Wiz wanted to make sure every single school had around a 7-pip AoE that was reliable for AoE damage for PvE content. So we're going to go over the spells. Fire Dragon got buffed, which is pretty good. Scorching Scimitar got nerfed a bit. Fire from Above got nerfed, but they kept the 3 fire spells, which is nice. This was removed before the first update of the Test Realm. Raging Bull. Damage got nerfed a tiny bit. It's not a lot of damage nerfed, about 75, which isn't bad, but they added a 40% mantle, which is really nice. 25 mantle was kind of useless. No one cared about that. Like, it was, I always powered through that. I never fizzled off a 25 mantle. 40 is a way more efficient, mantle for fire, and it would make more sense. Alright, so Fire. What are my thoughts of Fire? Fire did not really get hit that hard, I don't think. Fire's still really powerful. It has the most damage in the game currently, which is Fire, for, base damage anyways. And I don't think Fire is going to hurt much from this update. Now, I do think that they will release better spells in the future that will be like our old powerful spells. But for right now, I do think that if they do want to add more Shadow Pip spells and stuff like that, they have to nerf the Shadow Pip now before they keep on adding them now. So we're going to go to Storm now. Out of all the classes, Storm did get hit the hardest, basically losing their infallible part of their kit out of the window. So let's talk about that. Leviathan does a little bit less damage and now only removes 1 blade instead of doing 10, 30, removing 2. This is sad. They don't remove 2 anymore, they only remove 1 blade. Okay, so as you can see, this is going to be relevant throughout, Storm spells. Sirens. One of the best spells that Storm has, Sirens. My opinion, I feel like Sirens is way better than, Bull back in Live Realm. As you can see, these are the differences for Live. So I'm going to show you what Sirens does now. Sirens does 730 damage and only removes 1 blade. It used to do 880, remove 2 blades, and put a 50% mantle on all. Sirens was one of those spells you did not want to get hit by. PvE, it was so annoying to deal with, and in PvP, from 3v3, 4v4, it was annoying as well. So, this spell was definitely above the curve. I did think it needed to be tweaked a bit. Now, did it need to remove its mantle and the blade? I think they should keep the mantle but remove the blade removal, because they did that with glow bugs. They removed the blade for glow bugs removal. Maybe they should keep the mantle at 25 or 30% or something like that, so it has a little value that's not just oh, do damage to all schools and remove 1 blade. What if they don't have a blade? Well, just damage, stuff like that, you know what I mean? They got nerfed over 100 damage, so that's pretty nuts. Storm Owl got nerfed a little bit, about 100, 200 damage. Kind of stinks, but this is still a really powerful spell when enchanted. So, yeah. Iron Sultan got nerfed by about 200 here. So, all the 4-pip Shadow hits got nerfed a lot because this Shadow Pip value is less than it used to be. Back then, I think the value of a Shadow Pip was a little bit higher than what it is now, but people were getting them constantly, and over time, people just spam Shadow to win. So, Shadow Pip was the easy mode of the game. So they make it Shadow Pips a little more how do I call it, more, risk versus war, stuff like that. So this is a little less damage. We're going to talk about Glowbug now. So Glowbug, they did 1,120 to all remove all positive. It used to this. They kind of gutted the spell. So now it only does 940 to all and does not remove any blades whatsoever. So this is still, Storm's best, spell for for clearing mobs and stuff. Doesn't remove blades, which kind of sucks. It's not going to be powerful like it used to be. It's not going to be reliable like it used to be, but I feel like this is the only spell now Storm has to use for attacking all enemies, because Sirens would have been the opposite, because Sirens was almost equally as good as Glowbug. you know, in live realm. Like if I didn't have a glow bug, I would just use sirens. You know what I mean? So I think glow bug will still be the #1 card for Storm to use to attack all enemies, but kind of sad that they nerfed that. Rusalka, they nerfed a bit of the damage, about like 95 damage. Not bad. Alright, so now we're gonna talk about is there a horse near me? Bruh. Alright, now I gotta talk about Death. So Death got their Scarecrow buffed. So like I said before, they buffed all the 7-pip spells that were kind of lacking. So every single school has a reliable 7-pip hit. And this is pretty nice that they kind of did update the, like the pictures a little bit. So they did kind of update the pictures, which is nice instead of just having text. So it looks better that way, I think, in my opinion. So they did do that. You know, Kizma got nerfed, of course, for 1. Winged Sorrow got nerfed 6 and 1. It did even less for the thing. This kind of sad for me. I'm gonna talk about why in a second. And then, you know, Cthulhu got nerfed a little bit for health damage. Alright, we're gonna talk about Ice. Now, Ice is one of those schools that people have wanted nerfed for a long time. I'm gonna talk about the nerfs now. And while I look for it, I am gonna go on the Wizard 101 Test Realm updates. Update notes. And I'm going to talk about the difference between the first one and the second one. Alright, so we're going to talk about Abominable Weaver. So, we're going to do that later. So, we're going to talk about Cataclysm. So, Cataclysm got nerfed. Okay, this was good. I think this is still a little bit too powerful. In my opinion, no one's going to use it, though. Ice is like one of those schools that barely hit anyways to begin with. I don't really hit much as Ice in PvE content anyways, so 732, this is fine. I think this should stay the same. Or maybe go up a little bit, maybe to 800, but this is fine. Frost Giant, it got nerfed 15. I don't know why. I think Frost Giant was fine the way it is. Why did it get nerfed 15? I don't know. Snowball Barrage, why did it get minus 15? It's like a weakened Tempest. Like, what's the point of this? It's a shadow enhanced spell with a certain amount of pips you can use. I think it should stay the same, and it wasn't that powerful already. Now, we're going to talk about the legendary Abominable Weaver. That did get hit a little bit hard. So, it did get hit. It was needed. It was kind of broken. So, it got hit by the shield by minus 25, which is nice. And about 300 damage. Back then, it was 590 to 710. Now, do I think it should be 590 to 710 or 799 No, I think it should be in the 800 and stay there. I think that would be more balanced. You know what I mean? That spell was a little bit underbalanced, but almost balanced. I think Abominable would be better if it did 800. Maybe 800 to 900, stuff like that. 799 you know, whatever. So Ice kind of didn't get hit the hardest, but Ice will still be supreme in any mode because Ice has 10,000 health and they have bajillion stats. So until they nerf gear, whatever you do with their spells, whatever. Alright, one of the schools that got buffed, I think the most, in my opinion, is Myth. Now I'm going to talk about why. As we talked about earlier, Storm and Fire got their changes, right? And the third hard-hitting school in the game is Myth. Okay? Myth was not required much for PvE content. People only wanted Myth for infals. Now, the first version of Mystic Colossus was absolute garbage. They wanted it to be, what was it, 400? Which was stupid, right? So I'm going to go over the spells. And I'm going to talk about the 7-pip spell in a second. But I'm going to talk about Earthquake. Earthquake got buffed by 60 damage. Okay, cool. I'm glad that they buffed it. I don't think it needed to be buffed, but it's nice to see that they're buffing a little bit of stuff. And they did keep the remove charm and trap from enemies, which is nice. I feel like Storm should not have any like enfeeble effect. It should only be like Myth. Myth should be the one that has that effect. At least have Myth have something different than just minions that are useless and stuff like that. Okay, we're gonna talk about a big change here. So we're gonna talk about Orthrus, whatever, how you ever say it. Out of all the spells in the game, Orthrus got the biggest buff. Now, why do you say that? Well, first off, the spell was only 50 damage and 650 damage for one enemy, and it was a double hit. Now, it does 700 for all enemies. So, Myth did get a reliable PvE spell, finally. That was not Mystic Colossus, that was not Frog. You know what I mean? So this was nice. Myth got something different. You know, how they're gonna, work that, I don't know. I haven't seen it in action yet. But I do think that this is nice. 700 all is really good. Myth finally has some PvE options here. They're still not... I would still pick a Storm of Fire over it, but they're getting better. Myth is slowly getting better, Mr. Colossus got nerfed a bit in damage and only removed 1 shield. Now, I'm not going to use this spell when I could use Orthus. If they have no shields, I guess I can use it. Like, if they have no shields, I'm just going to use Orthus. Why am I going to use Mr. Colossus if I have Orthus? See, now that's the problem. Why would I use the Shadow Pip to remove 1 shield when I could use Orthus that has all, that does more damage? Why would I do that? I think they should remove all shields from Mr. Colossus. But I know this removes 1 before the hit, so I guess it's helpful in some scenarios. But I don't know. Alright, okay, this got buffed, so Witch's House Call got a little bit of a buff. Not that much, about 100 damage, so it doesn't fall below 992. This is good for PvE and PvP. PvP especially because this is really nice that they did add, that kind of stuff. Alright, so Myth, I think Myth got one of the biggest check marks. They got mostly buffs here. And we're going to talk about balance. Alright, so balance spells got changed a bit. They say that this is a big buff, the 345 to 340. 15 extra damage? Not really. I don't see that difference. It's a little bit. Here's some extra damage. Here's some extra damage. You know what I mean? Alright, Gaze of Fate got nerfed a bit, from 325 to 345 for the next hit at 25. Now, this sucks. Okay, so this was, Myth's main hitter in PvP content was Gaze of Fate. They used to do, 1,000 each. They would have to spam this to kill enemies and stuff like that. Kill people and stuff like that. So it's interesting that they nerfed this a little bit. I think it was fine-ish the way it was. Maybe put it to, 400, 410. I think that would be a little bit better if you wanted to nerf it. But no one uses this in PvE content whatsoever. It's kind of useless. So they're kind of only nerfing it because PvP wants it to get nerfed, in my opinion. Hydra got buffed by 40. Okay, whatever, dude. I'm gonna really, change that up. And now, Nested Fury is one of the best AoEs in the game right now. One of the better ones. Because it does 818 damage to 866 to fire, ice, or storm damage to the enemy. Now, this spell, people are like, oh, this is the best in the game. But it's not, actually. There's spells that do way more. For instance, there's Glow Bug. Does way more than that, And Nested Fury is a chance. So it can hit fire, and the enemies could be fire, and it does less damage. It could hit ice. The enemies could be ice, does less damage. So Nested Fury, in my opinion, maybe would be the second best AoE. Not the first best. Bug's still better, because Bug still does more damage than this, stuff like that. But Nested Fury is not the best. People on Twitter, you need to calm down. Nested Fury is not the best. Alright, so Life. Something happened interesting to Life. They changed Forest Lord and Rebirth and the quest line when you get them. So, as you can see, Forest Lord used to be an 8-pip spell, and Rebirth used to be a 7-pip spell. Now, they changed Forest Lord to be 7 pips, and it does more damage, which is really nice. And Rebirth does the same, just changed some things, and does 8 pips. Interesting. This is pretty cool. I think that this was needed because Lives did not get their, their attack spell like this until level 10. Which reminds me, let me go check my Life Wizard and see... Actually, wait, I don't think my Life Wizard's level... No, my Life Wizard is 48. So let me go check my Life Wizard and see if I have Forest Lord now, or I still have Rebirth. Let's find out. My Life Wizard's level 56, so... Interesting. So I have Rebirth at 8, but I don't have Forest Lord. So I don't think they changed the... I don't think they changed the quests. I think you get them at the same level, but the pips are different. So I hope they change that in the next stuff, and I hope they change that. Okay, I'm gonna quit Wiz now, and I'm gonna go back to this. Okay, cool. Alright, so let's talk about that. So that's all good. What is the difference here? So, mark me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong in chat. Not chat, sorry. Tell me if I'm wrong in the comment section, because I don't know what the difference is here. Like, this looks exactly the same as this. Like, I don't see the difference between the King Art and the King Art. 705, 10 Pierce Blade. Plus 10. Life Pierce played and 300 heal over 3 rounds? 300 heal over 3... It's just like the same thing. What's so different about this? I don't know, guys. I don't know what the difference is for this. If I'm forgetting, if I'm missing something, just let me know. Rebirth, same. And Lamasu got nerfed a bit. Okay, cool. And then Hungry Caterpillar got nerfed. It's still 800 Absorb, which is cool. But Caterpillar got nerfed a bit, which is fine. And now we gotta talk about the Shadow spells. So all the Shadow spells across the board did get nerfed. So versus Dark Fiend does less. Dark Nova does less. Way less. And Dark Shepherd does 100 damage less. So they did this in order to nerf the Shadow pin value. Because this is technically worth, like, if this is worth 3, like 3, or like 4, like we could give this is worth 8 pips normally, right? Damn, this is, the Dark Nova nerf is the biggest nerf ever. 1,600 damage to 975. This is a huge nerf right here. Dark Nova just got shattered. Anyway, so that's all the spells that got changed so far. I'm going to make this part 1. And I'm going to do a part 2 video if they do change any spells. And I'm going to do my opinion on this. My opinion, I'm going to give both ratings for every school. My opinion on the fire changes, I think fire would still be decent right now. And right this update, and if they release this update to live, I think fire would still be okay in PvP. In PvE, fire's still a good school, I think, in my opinion, because they still have that utility to get the traps up. Then they can use the traps to use the tree. You know, for boss DPS, I think it's good that they kept the 3. Alright, and then Bull, low damage nerf, that's not the end of the world. The 40 thing is very helpful. So Fire got a buff. I think Fire mostly got a little bit of a buff here for Raging Bull for PvE. For PvP, a little bit of a nerf, which is okay. I think Fire is not going to go anywhere. Fire is one of the most damage-heavy schools right now, so Fire I think is fine. Storm definitely got nerfed. Now, is Storm totally gone? No, Storm's not totally gone. Storm's still going to be a good school, but it's not going to be as powerful as it's used to be, which kind of is sad. But at least you don't have to rely on a Storm to hit with glow bugs to win. You know what I mean? There's other spells and schools you can use for that type of stuff. So Storm, not going anywhere, but it's kind of sad that they nerfed a little bit, but that's fine. Death, I think Death's okay. I think Death's not going anywhere the way it is. I just don't like to use Death in PvE content entirely, except for being a Jade. You know, stuff like that. It's nice that they got a little bit of buff and a nerf here and there, but I think Death's still fine the way it is. I think Death's kind of like average right now. Ice. For PvP, Ice is still going to be the number 1. You can't do anything about Ice. You can nerf their spells all they want, or they could just run Jade all day. Ice is still going to be really good in PvP because of their high health. You know? If you nerf all these other spells, Ice is gonna just be able to tank more. So unless you do something about the stats of the gear and the Ice stuff like that, nothing is gonna change about Ice. Alright, so I still think that this Abominable Weaver was needed. Maybe a little bit less damage, but even this spell is still really, really good for PvP. For PvE, but for PvP, this spell is really, 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 really good. Still. Even if it's not 75, it's still really good. Alright, and then Myth. I think Myth got a wonderful PvE buff. Now, before you guys say, Myth. Now, I do agree. Myth is not like Storm or Fire. Myth has been one of the worst schools in the game for a long time now, and the lowest played schools in a long time now. Every single school is supposed to have something fancy about them that is different from the rest. It's supposed to be that Myth has, you know, the Myth of minions and stuff like that, you know, but the minions suck. You know what I mean? The minions are absolutely useless. So Myth kind of has no perks about them. There's just kind of another version of, like, Storm or Fire. You know what I mean? So, Myth for PvE went up a little bit, in my opinion. For PvP, I think they're actually going to be better than what they used to be with the Earthquake change and the Wish House Call change. Now, Orthus, this kind of does hurt low-level PvP. Now, I'm not going to talk about this too much, but I know low-level PvP used to use Orthus in order to kill their enemies because it does 2 hits, so it would get rid of the shields in the first hit, and, you know, the second hit. So this is kind of like a cut for Myth for PvE. You know, or like low levels who use Orthus TC, they'll probably use something else, but, you know, this still is really good. I still think that Myth was needed. If they were going to nerf Mystic Colossus, they could not use Frog as a reliable hit. Thank goodness that KingsIsle finally understood you know, Myth needs a reliable minion killing, you know, card, and they did. Balance. Balance is balance. Balance has so much utility cards, it's nuts. Now for PvE, they're kind of still, in my opinion, a blade hog. You know, they give blades to everyone. Stuff like that. Now this Destined Fury is pretty good. I still think that's pretty good, but the randomness kind of kills it if it's like the minion is a fire, you know, storm or, you know, stuff, and it hits that build a little lower. For PvP, lore already got like nerfed. Lore already got cut a little bit. And stuff like that, and Gaze got nerfed. I think they're even weaker than they'll ever be in PvP right now. It's kind of sad. The top two schools were like Ice and Balance for PvP, and instead of nerfing Ice, which was more problematic than Balance, I feel they just destroyed Balance. They cut Balance down, and it's kind of makes me feel sad that they did that. I'm gonna go to Life. Life was okay. I don't think Life was needing a lot of changes. I do think that the healing was ridiculous. For crits and stuff like that, but Forest Lord changing to 7 pips is nice. Rebirth still being the same is good. Changing to 8 though, whatever. Hungry Caterpillar getting nerfed, okay, whatever. We still have Weaver and stuff like that we can use. That's way better and stuff like that, and whatnot. And the Shadow Pip's the Shadow Pip. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. You know, thank you guys for watching the video. If you have any comments about it, comment down below. And remember guys, this is part 1. KingsIsle could change these spells at any moment, have another update with more spells are getting changed. I do know they're changing 8-pip spells soon as well, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do with that. So thank you guys for watching the video.